Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to be looking at a series that I actually really love, and that is the Haja and Fuuin series. Over here it was known as Miracle Warriors. So my experience with the Haja and Fuuin series started with Miracle Warriors, and that kind of began in 1987. That was my first experience with the game. I was in Hawaii with my parents. They were nice enough to take me to Hawaii, and while we were there, we're walking around the local mall. And I walked into this electronics store and I looked up on the shelf, and I didn't have a Sega Master System then or a Nintendo or anything like that. And I looked up and there was this game Miracle Warriors. You know, I asked the guy working there if I could have a look at it. I was a little kid at the time and I was looking at it and I was like, wow, this is like a role-playing game. And I was really excited to read the back of it, and it sounded like something that would be really up my alley. I loved reading the back of that game. It was fantastic at the time. But then that was it. That was the only experience I'd ever, had seeing the game or anything like that. Until 1988, when, as I say, one of my friends down the road went for a big road trip, and he brought back Phantasy Star, Ys, King's Quest, and Miracle Warriors was one of them. And everybody's playing all of the other games, and finally, after they finished all those games, they started playing Miracle Warriors, and I was over there and I just was hypnotized by the game. At the time, it just blew me away. The graphics were awesome, the sound was awesome, everything I kind of ever wanted. So I didn't get a chance to play it till a couple of years later when I finally had my own Sega Master System, and I bought this copy off my friend so I could actually, so this is the original copy I saw back then, which is cool. I started playing it and I fell in love with the game, and it was really amazing. And what was so cool about it, and what a lot of people don't know about Miracle Warriors, is it's arguably one of the first console role-playing games ever released. Phantasy Star came out a few months later. Miracle Warriors came out in October of '87. Phantasy Star came out in December '87. So it beat it by a few months, but Phantasy Star kind of overshadowed Miracle Warriors, sadly. So what set Miracle Warriors apart was its main screen. On its main screen you had a map showing you where you were actually walking to at any given time. But also you had another view, which was a side view mode, where you could see where you're actually moving to, and you could see the landscape changing behind you, and in '87 that was quite something to see. The game is a very traditional RPG. Combat is in first person, so that's nothing different than Dragon Quest and Phantasy Star back then. You would go to towns, you buy items, traditional types of stuff. And also, of course, as I said, you do combat. Now, this is one thing that deters a lot of people from playing Miracle Warriors, is there's a lot of combat. Probably every 3 spaces you take, you're in combat. It's a heavy grind fest. But at that time, I really enjoyed it. And the fun part about combat was the monsters that you'd fight had the most unusual names. Like, here's a few of them. A Seki Sag, a Hange, a Gelfish, a Weasley Wimp, a Dagon, not even a dragon, an Itak, and an Inutus. I know, they were the strangest names I'd ever seen. I swear some guys just like sitting there just making up names going, a Zeraroth. You know, it was just absolutely ridiculous, some of these names. Originally, Miracle Warriors in Japan was called Haja and Fuuin, and it was a PC game. And Sega actually bought the rights to translate it and do their own reprogrammed version of the game, which became Haja and Fuuin on the Master System or Mark III. And besides the Master System version, there was a lot of ports. There was the PC-88 version, the MSX cart version, the MSX2 disc version, and the Famicom version, which is right actually here. And here's something funny. On the MSX versions and the Mark III versions, the main final boss of the game, Terran, actually has her breasts exposed. Not a big deal to me, I know. But when they actually brought the game over here for the Miracle Wars, they actually had to redraw the entire box art. So it's kind of funny what the Japanese would accept in box art and what obviously over here would be too risque for our eyes. Like, geez, they would have sold so many more games. Now, granted, I actually haven't played the MSX versions. I played a little bit just to capture a little bit of footage, but it's so heavy in Japanese. And to be honest with you, the Master System version actually has better graphics, I do believe. The Famicom version also is, I would say, an inferior version. So I actually think the Mark III version is the superior version of all of them. Let's get to the ending of this game. We have to go back to Miracle Warriors here. I had grinded my way through every dungeon, every single thing in the game. I had collected every single character, and some of the characters were, for me at the time, were very difficult to find. I'd figured out everything. I grinded my levels super high. I was looking excellent. One problem. I couldn't find the end boss of the game. couldn't do it. Now, a lot of the characters throughout the game give you rough clues about where to go. But they're so rough that you could never even figure it out. It was just ridiculous. And then I got all the keys, and I finally, I got the scroll and all that kind of stuff, and I finally figured it out by reading it all. And I mean, it was the most obscure thing, and I didn't use a strategy guide at the time. I still, to this day, this is 1989, I don't know how I figured it out. So how you found it, you had to go to Tegia, and you had to go 16 spaces south, 10 spaces north, 6 spaces west, and then you would arrive at a monument. And then you will fall into the final dungeon of the game. And you will actually get to fight the final boss. Yes, this big titty character right here, Terran. Too funny, but I was so ecstatic to finally be fighting this boss. I was like, finally, I finally get to fight you. This is it, the final of the game. I was so high-powered, the fight lasted about 6 minutes. It was over. And the credits rolled, and I gotta say, back then, it was one of the most fulfilling endings ever because I couldn't figure it out for months. I put the game down for months. I was like, forget this fucking game. I finally came back, and through some, I don't know how to brainstorm, I pieced all the pieces together, and I knew where to go. I knew how to do it. And actually, it was so strange when I actually did it, I couldn't believe that I actually fell through. I'm like, oh my god, it actually worked. So that was funny. That's always a good memory of mine, the ending to Miracle Warriors. So I actually have a small Haja Fuuin collection that I've built up over the years. It's a strange thing because I know a lot of people, probably most people, maybe I'm the only person who has a Haja Fuuin collection, which is funny. So I thought I'd just show you some of the stuff that I picked up over the years. Now here's the original Mark III version that Rob bought me years ago. It's a little in bad shape. He got it off eBay, but I was so ecstatic to have this. He bought it for me for one Christmas, like years before we did the show. It was so nice years later when I was able to get a much nicer Mark III copy. Now, here's something really interesting is, if you notice here, this is the box, it actually comes with a figure. It comes with the game, the manual, a map, and a figure. And for the longest time, I never figured out why it came with a figure. I was just like, oh, cool, some like D&D type of figure you get with it. In a way, I was right. And when I got the MSX versions, I was looking through the manuals, and there's a cool little bit where it showed you what you're supposed to do with the figure. And these come with figures as well, actually. The same figure as the Mark III. What you use the figure for is, the map is so big that you actually will put your figure where your character is. This is before like really good auto mapping, so you could have your map out, in front of you on the table, and you can move your figure wherever you were in the game itself. It's pretty old school, but still pretty cool. And here's something that's very, very cool. This is an original leaflet advertisement for Haja Fuuin back in 1988, 89. And this is from, this is from the Famicom version. And it's actually kind of interesting. It actually shows one of the characters there, how you could actually paint it, for your map kind of thing. So that was kind of interesting. Here's something really interesting, and I actually had this translated. There's actually a whole thing here. This is the final boss in the game, right here, our big-titted lady. You could actually enter a contest to win a figurine of her character there. So I think the contest is over, so my luck might be out. But I don't even know where you could actually find that figure now. That'd be like an impossible find. So as I say, these are the MSX versions, the Famicom version, as I say, the Mark III version, and this is kind of interesting. This is the little strategy guide for the Famicom version. And this is kind of rare, actually. You don't find this too often. So that's kind of cool to have. It's an interesting little piece of the collection, too. This is a Haja Fuuin Choose Your Own Adventure book. Back in the 80s, Choose Your Own Adventure books were very, very popular. Because video games weren't what they are now. So it's kind of cool. It's actually a Haja Fuuin Choose Your Own Adventure book with some artwork in there and stuff like that. So very interesting. At first I didn't know what it was, and I had a friend of mine translate it. Thank you, Taylor. And he's actually the one who said, oh, it's like a Choose Your Own Adventure book. And I thought that was very, very awesome. So guys, I thought I'd take a look at a series that nobody takes a look at, and that's Haja Fuuin, Miracle Warriors over here. It's a game that I really adored as a child. I played the ever-loving crap out of it every day after school, and it's funny, all these years later, I noticed that nobody was ever talking about it, and I thought, hey, I better step up to the plate and say a little something about one of my favorite series, Haja no Fuuin, Miracle Warriors. So I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time.